it's Legend Kage, and today we're talking about Dunemarchers. Dunemarchers is an insanely strong exotic for ad clear, and with the new melee elemental well mods, you can do some very fun things with it. Most notably, you can use the well mods to run a scuffed Skull Fort and chain lightning everywhere. Now, starting off with the exotic overview, Dunemarchers is a year 1 exotic and is a random world drop for Titans. If you don't have it already, just keep visiting Zur each week. The exotic perk, Linear Actuators, increases sprint speed. Sprinting builds up a static charge. After melee attacking an enemy, that charge will chain damage to nearby enemies. Now to break down the perks on the exotic and include numbers. Thanks to Pippin 7521 with his massive Destiny 2 data compendium, and that will be linked in the description. On his spreadsheet, he states, after sprinting for 1.5 seconds, you gain linear actuators for 7 seconds. While you have that buff on melee hit, Linear Actuators applies shock for 2 seconds on an enemy, which releases an arc static charge that chains when another enemy is within 30 meters. Shocked is a refresh on the chain. When you apply the shock, if something comes within 30 meters of the target within that 2-second window, it will chain to them. And then it'll have another 2 seconds to chain to the next thing that comes within 30 meters. It also increases sprint speed by 6.25% and increases slide distance by 33%. The absurd range that the chain provides makes ad clearing a breeze, and this can be paired with a throwing hammer to activate it at range too. It also can be chained off dead bodies, which is very notable in PvP, as your ally's dead body comes flying around a corner and then chains everyone. I've had it happen plenty of times. Now for the subclasses, any subclass work with these since it's just working off the regular melee, it's not a powered melee perk. And because of that, they're incredibly versatile. If you need ranged ad clear, then you can go Burning Maul. If you want to be aggressive and in the middle of the battle, try Thunder Crash with Ballistic Slam. It's all up to you. Weapons don't really matter with this exotic, as it does all the ad clear for you. Run some good single target DPS options if you need to melt a target, or try running double special if you want to feel frisky. Melee perks like Swashbuckler, Grave Robber, Trench Barrel, and 1-2 Punch do synergize well though. And now for mods, there aren't anything that really directly synergizes with this exotic, as a Chain Lightning is its own damage type, so it doesn't count as like arc weapon blows and it doesn't count as melee kills, so the options for directly synergizing is a bit limited, but I am going to cover some of the general options here. On the head, there's really only hands-on, gain bonus super energy on melee kills. On the arms, you can do Impact Induction, causing damage with a melee attack reduces your grenade cooldown. Focusing Strike, grants class ability energy when you cause damage with a melee attack. Or Melee Kickstart, when your melee energy is fully expended, you gain melee energy. On the chest, you are going to use these resistance mods in PvE. They are extremely powerful, make sure you're using them. Most notably, melee damage resistance reduces incoming damage from combatants that are in point blank range, and this just helps because you're meleeing guys. Recuperation is an extremely strong mod that you should always have on. And Outreach reduces your melee cooldown when you're using your class ability. Combat style, we have Taking Charge, become charged with light by picking up orbs of power. Protective Light, while charged with light, you gain significant damage resistance against combatants when your shields are destroyed. This effect consumes all stacks of charge with light. The more stacks consumed, the longer the resistance lasts. Melee Wellmaker, powered melee combatant final blows spawn elemental wells matching your subclass energy type. Elemental Charge, become charged with light by picking up an elemental well. If the elemental well's elemental type matches your subclass element, you gain 2 stacks charged with light. Font of Might, picking up an elemental well that matches your subclass energy type grants a temporary bonus damage of that same elemental type. Well of Striking, picking up an arc elemental well grants you additional melee energy. Multiple copies of this mod increase this effect. And Seeking Wells, elemental wells you create will move across the ground toward nearby players. And next is a Viability section. This section is mainly to help give a understanding of where I see this build being used, because some people judge a build completely on if it's needed in Grandmasters. Some people just want a fun build to run strikes with or do Gambit. This is where I want to highlight those in the Viability section. Starting off with the pros for this exotic, it is extremely easy to proc and do its job of ad clear. All you have to do is go get a melee after sprinting for a 1.5 seconds. The damage is high and can clear rooms quickly, and you get faster movement. The cons here requires you to be in melee range unless you are using a throwing hammer, and it does not increase single target damage in any way. The useful areas here are as regular raids during ad clear parts. I wouldn't really recommend this in Master Vogue, especially because in Vogue there's a lot of anti-melee things such as the Fanatics. These are really useful in dungeons, as well as Gambit, Breaks, and PvP. For Grandmasters, I would not recommend this, as again, you're going into melee range, and the damage from Dunemarchers might not be enough to help clear ads. The meta for Grandmasters is completely different than anything else in the game. And now for a very quick build using this exotic. The subclass we're going to use is Thunder Crash. Hurtle through the air like a missile and crash into enemies to inflict meteoric damage. Ballistic Slam. After sprinting, leap into the air and use to slam into the ground and damage nearby targets. Impact Conversion. Hitting enemies with Ballistic Slam grants super energy and activates Inertia Override and Inertia Override. Picking up ammo during a slide reloads your equipped weapon, grants melee energy, and increases weapon damage for a short time. Our weapons are going to be Extraordinary Rendition, the Fourth Horseman, and Crown Splitter. Exotic armor is going to be Dunemarchers. And then on the helm, we have Hands-On and Melee Wellmaker. Gloves, we need Well of Striking. On our chest piece, we're going to have Arc Damage Resistance, Concussive Dampener, and Heavy-Handed. Boots will have Recuperation and Elemental Charge. And then your mark is going to have Passive Guard and Font of Might. And here are a few gameplay tips. Ballistic Slam reloads your current weapon and gives a 20% damage bonus to it. If you get a kill with it and pick up the arc well, you'll gain another 25% damage bonus to any arc weapons you're holding. This includes the Fourth Horseman. Thunder Crash, while not as powerful as it would be with Curious of the Falling Star, is still great for some burst damage. Heavy-Handed will let you gain shotgun ammo when you get kills with the SMG, sidearm, fusion rifle, or shotgun while surrounded by 3 or more enemies. Picking up the wells will give you Charge with Light ×2, which in turn consumes a stack on your next melee to immediately get 50% melee energy back. That with the well will have your melee back in just a few seconds. Thanks for watching all the way through. I hope you guys are enjoying these as always, and let me know if there's any exotics you'd like me to cover next. Have a great week, and I'll see you guys next time.